Something that I've been noticing over the last couple of years, it's getting completely out of hand. It's almost as if everybody has a real problem with their self-image. It seems as if for whatever reason, people have genuinely forgot how to love themselves. And I think a lot of it has to do with the insecurities that are just being pumped through social media. With girls being over-sexualized at an all-time high, and with fitness influencers like Liver King looking like a goddamn Greek god eating raw meat, lying to his loyal followers, leading them to believe that's how he naturally obtained his physique. Society has never been in a place more than now to be led astray to feel insecure about the person they look at every day in the mirror. And I gotta admit, even myself as somebody that considers himself to be a pretty fit guy, when you're scrolling around on your phone genuinely looking at people that inspire you, it's hard not to compare yourself. So today I want to talk a little bit about what's going on, how I feel about it, and where I think everybody can just honestly improve. And first things first, I definitely want to talk to my ladies. I think since the beginning of time, women have been battling the beauty standards and trying to keep up with what's in and what's not. Like if you go back to what was popular like in the 70s, things have completely changed on what is considered quote unquote conventionally attractive. Like compared to now, I feel like a lot of guys are attractive to girls that, you know, have a little bit more meat on them. Like obviously that doesn't go for everybody, but I think in general a lot of people like, you know, cheeks. I mean, if people did it, these weak ass memes of the yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. But back then it was very popular where women wanted to be as skinny as possible. And I'm not 100% sure when, but things slowly started to trend in the opposite direction. All the way to when girls like Kim Kardashian started popping out, where it started feeling like the bigger the better. I mean, we had girls literally walking around looking like motherfucking ants. Like girls was walking around looking so ridiculous, the shit was starting to look actually disgusting. And fast forward to now, it looks like the trend of being skinny is coming back in, where we're seeing a lot of females get on this Ozempic thing just to lose weight. So between BBLs, plastic surgery, Ozempic that are being promoted to the mainstream, that if you don't do this, you're not quote unquote pretty. And I'll be the first to tell you, in my personal opinion, I don't like any of it. At the end of the day, it's your body, your choice, and I 100% agree with that. But to think having thicker lips has gotten so popular to the point where women are literally willing to walk around with permanent duck faces, I mean, I just don't get it, man. That shit don't even look good. But the point of this video is not to shit on people that are altering their bodies. I just feel like everybody needs to take a step back and actually start appreciating what they were blessed with. And the thing that scares me the most is a lot of these procedures that allow you to alter your body, I've seen people being able to do it as young as 16. And I can only imagine how terrible it could be when you make a life-changing decision to alter your body in any way, shape, or form at such a young age, only to grow up, actually live a little bit more life, and obtain a little bit more knowledge, because that's just what comes with growing up. To never be able to truly revert back to how you were born naturally. And I think women have to deal with this in the worst of ways, because again, social media and society have only promoted the more beautiful you are, the better you are. But I genuinely want to give you guys that reinforcement that that is not the case. The sad truth is a lot of people are chasing these beauty standards to impress people on the internet that don't even know them in real life. I've seen girls Photoshop their pictures so much to the point that they are unrecognizable to the person that they are when they actually look in the mirror. This type of lifestyle will literally have you falling in love with a version of yourself that doesn't even really exist. Imagine every time you close your eyes and think of yourself, you see somebody that isn't you. And then when you look in the mirror, you're confused on why you don't look the way you imagine yourself in your head. That's just a different level of mind games that I don't think anybody deserves. And it's sad to see that that is a reality for a lot of people. And for my fellas out there who I know suffer from the same thing as the women, where things start to get really scary for guys, are men that get caught in the fitness influencer trap. I know this isn't everybody, but a lot of these fitness influencers, they get on the internet promoting healthy habits, showing them workout, and ultimately showing you their gain results of them having chiseled abs, nice chest, you know, all of the above. But here's the thing, most of them aren't being transparent about how they achieved that physique. I even found myself falling into that trap where I'm looking at these guys like, damn, how can I look like that? Because I'm in the gym every day, and now I'm comparing myself and I'm pushing myself, and every time I look in the mirror, I'm nowhere near that. And if you don't take the time to realize that what you're trying to achieve isn't achievable naturally, it could really fuck your head up. And don't even get me started on the female fitness influencers that go get BBLs and talk about how they got their ass naturally. When you got platforms like TikTok that literally some of the biggest influencers are girls that just lip sync to videos and get millions of views just because they're pretty. Not because they're talented, not because they did a cool trick, not because they're very creative, just because they can sing along to a fucking rap song. They bad though, 20 million views. Like, what the fuck? I get it. This is the world we're living in. So there's a lot of pressure to try and keep up. But the realest thing I could ever tell you is you have to love yourself for who you are. Growing up, my mom was kind of strict about certain things, and something that she never let me do was get my ears pierced. And I remember wanting to get it done so bad because all the guys in school had their ears pierced, especially the ones that I was comparing myself to because they got all the girls. And I was like, what can I do to try and keep up with them? So I remember always going back home to my mom being like, yo, can I get my ears pierced? And she was like, no. Her biggest reasoning was because she would say I'm too young. I just didn't get it at the time. I always felt like it was just some weak ass excuse, and it genuinely made me upset. So I was never able to get my ears pierced, and I always felt like that was something that was holding me back from, you know, being a little bit more attractive to women back then. So fast forward, I'm about 18 now, respectively a grown man, and I remember I asked my mom if I can get my ears pierced. She finally gave me the green light saying, hey, you're a grown man now, you can make your own decisions. But understand that now that you're an adult, every decision you make is going to be your responsibility. So I'm kind of like, whatever, I'm just getting my ears pierced. It's not that big of a deal. So boom, I go and get my ears pierced, and just like you imagine, while I definitely felt like it gave me some extra cool points of looking in the mirror like, okay, you got your ears pierced. Girls weren't chasing me down the hallways or anything. It wasn't that big of a deal. But it wasn't long until I was about to inherit one of my biggest insecurities of all time. So I didn't know what was going on at first, but about a year later, my right ear was hurting. Was hurting to the point where I couldn't even sleep properly. And even though I was dealing with this for a while, I would always tell myself it's probably just my ears still healing. But after a year that went by, my left ear didn't have no pain, but my right still did. So after kind of investigating, I noticed there was like this small bump that was starting to develop behind my ear. At the time, I had no idea what it was. But at 19, young and dumb, I still kind of was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna ignore that shit. It is what it is. Man, in about 3 months, that bump on my ear had grown to an enormous size to the point where there was this huge mass that was just hanging from my ear, which I now know what is referred to as a keloid. So pretty much what a keloid is a scar that just doesn't stop healing itself. I don't know why it happens. Some people deal with it. Like if you Google keloids, you could see some pretty nasty cases. And while compared to some of the worst cases out there, mine was nothing. You gotta understand, I'm a 19-year-old kid. I've never dealt with this type of abnormal thing before. So I was starting to become insecure as fuck. Literally imagine going your whole life feeling somewhat normal as a guy to where now you have this huge mass that won't stop growing behind your ear. When I tell you the insecurities I was feeling, bro, was on a different level. I'm talking about I started to learn how to talk to people kind of just with my head tilted because I was so ashamed. I didn't want nobody to notice it. Like I'm FaceTiming girls and they only seeing half of my face type shit. So I remember speaking to my mom about it, and sure enough, she was like, look, I'm sorry you're going through that, but you're a grown man who made a grown man decision, and now you may have to deal with that for the rest of your life. She made it known that she was not about to help me figure this shit out. So I did some research, ended up reaching out to a doctor, saved up some money, and I had to pay for a procedure to get it removed. Mind you, because technically there was nothing wrong with me, this is not considered a life or death thing. It was considered cosmetic in the same way a girl goes and gets her nose job done. So insurance didn't cover it. I had to pay for that shit out of pocket. Saved up like $4,000, which at the time was astronomical amount of money for me. And you want to know what the saddest part about all of that? I went and got the procedure done, and 3 months later that shit grew back. Bigger, more uglier. I was just like, yo, this might be my life. I dealt with an even bigger keloid for like another year. And after doing more research, that seemed to be the case. It's pretty much this condition where your body's just gonna keep healing and it doesn't know when to stop. So it really was a 50-50 chance. If you get it removed again, it could always just come back. So after another 2 years of dealing with this thing, I think I went from 19 all the way to 21 with it. I finally saved up enough money to get a second procedure. And thankfully, after that second procedure, it has not come back, as you can see, but I have not received another ear piercing in my right ear. And I say all of that to say, man, I learned a valuable lesson, and shout out to my mom for, kind of teaching me this lesson, even though it was kind of a harsh truth, where sometimes we make decisions thinking that it's gonna like enhance our looks or enhance who we are as a person, when we were already beautiful the way we were. Here I was the whole time thinking that getting my ears pierced was gonna make me this more attractive person and make people like me more, when the reality is, yeah, maybe did it look a little cute or cool? Maybe, but that was never the reason why anyone liked me more or less. If anything, all it did was make me more insecure after I developed a keloid, which is an extreme scenario. I'm not trying to promote that people shouldn't go get their ears pierced now. But what I am trying to say is, I feel like so many of us need to take a step back and really start appreciating the person that's in the mirror. One of the best sayings that I've ever heard, and it's a simple one, so I'm sure you've heard it too, is don't focus on what you can't control. And I think if people started living with that a little bit more, they would really start to love and appreciate themselves on a deeper level. Like I've said this in videos before, but an insult that people always used to say to me, still say to me to this day, that used to make me feel insecure as fuck is, oh, you look like Sid from Ice Age. And it's like, shit, maybe I do. I get mixed reviews on that. I know my eyes are a little bit further apart from each other. I was born that way. What can I do about it? At least to my knowledge, we haven't gotten eye reconstruction surgery yet, so this is what it is. This is what I got. But instead of hyper focusing on my flaws, I learned to appreciate the parts of myself that I do love. And then when we're talking about things like being overweight or underweight, and those are things we actually have influence over, and just by changing a few habits, we can actually enhance those things. Hence, we have control over it. At the end of the day, I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what your insecurities are. Because I do understand, I ended up getting that keloid, and it made me feel so insecure and powerless that I felt ugly every time I looked in the mirror. And I'm sure to some degree, people that are altering their body in unnatural ways, that's kind of what they're feeling and dealing with. So the psychology behind that shit could really fuck your head up, and I get that. But I also think on the same side of that coin, we see where people take these procedures so far to the point where they're unrecognizable, constantly looking for the easy change, the easy tweak, and they just keep on going to the point they don't even know who they are anymore. What I'm talking about is definitely on an extreme scale, and I think there's some nuance here. I'm not saying motherfuckers can't go get their nose job or BBL. Like, at the end of the day, I don't really care. Do what you want to do with your body. But understand something. Every time you make a decision like that, there's a chance you're going to personally alter your shit into something you might not be able to come back from. When in reality, you was already perfect the way you are. So if you want to lose some weight, get in the gym. Eat healthier. And if you want to gain some, vice versa. The choice is always yours. But before you make such a life-altering decision, ask yourself, are you doing this for you? Or are you worried about what other people think?
Where you at, Berto?